the Dream 100 Show. The epicenter of influence, collaboration, and exponential growth. You're about to discover the power of relationships. Dream 100 relationships. And you're one relationship away from a totally different business and life. This is your host, Michael Tesner.
I've got a stealth strategy for you today that no one is talking about, let alone actually implementing. In today's episode of the Dream 100 Show, I'm going to give you a strategy that we have been quietly testing in addition to all the other Dream 100 tactics to accelerate relationships, partnerships, and so on. So one of the advantages of you listening to this show is that I give you things on here that I don't talk about in other places. And I do this because for me, the podcast, it's almost a sacred thing, where once a week, I riff and I just share what's working, what's on my mind, and just try to bring you value every single week. And I don't want to just give every single thing away to all the other platforms, but I want to give it here because I'm grateful to have your time and your attention. So when we look at the Dream 100 framework from a 10,000 foot view, we know that the name of the game is identifying the type of relationships that could refer you lots and lots of business. These Dream 100 relationships have to have the criteria where they could help, I like to say, double your business. Some people might shoot a little bit lower, but I want you thinking bigger people. If you're a landscaper and you did $500,000 in revenue, well, what happens if you were to land a gigantic commercial account that is 15 offices locally, for example, and it's going to be worth $500,000 a year in business? Who has that particular contact in their database? Now, I could argue that that's towing the line of a Dream 100 customer versus a Dream 100 referral partner. So I'm sure that you're not new here and this isn't your first episode, but keeping in mind, we have three distinct audiences that you need to pick from. Audience number one would be a Dream 100 client. So in that case, I gave you more of a Dream 100 client, customer, prospect. If your average customers are paying you $1,000 a year, you might say, well, a Dream 100 customer would be worth $100,000 a year. And you make a list of those and you hyper target those relationships. The second one that I typically always recommend you start with is strategic partners that could refer you lots and lots of business. They might refer you Dream 100 customers, but they're typically going to refer you those $1,000 a year customers, prospects, clients, but they're going to do them in large quantities. So they're not just going to send one customer your way. They might send 50 during the course of the year and constantly be a referral partner, a strategic partner for you. And the third audience is Dream 100 press, TV, media, basically. What are the outlets that, if you were to get on them, could help massively catapult your business? So here's the strategy that we've been testing. I've talked through the podcast strategy, which I love, and we're continuing to do that, and it's continuing to produce fruit. We've talked through a variation of the strategy that I don't consider the Dream 100 strategy, and that is by deploying strategic gifting. That is one of those things, and let me just add a little asterisk because I don't want to confuse you. Strategic gifting, but going in right for the sale. We do deploy strategic gifting at the Dream 100, but we do it after there's been some rapport built, after they've came on a podcast. We're typically not sending gifts and then following up with potential sales conversations. So that is an accelerated strategy that I've talked about. And we've started to kind of teach that a little bit more because a lot of people get impatient. They say, Michael, I don't want to wait 6 months to land some of these relationships. Like I want to accelerate. So the podcast is definitely an acceleration tactic. Once you get them on your show, you build rapport, you give value, and then you continue to add value. And we've seen those podcast relationships definitely convert faster than the normal Dream 100 strategy as I've taught it in the past. And that strategy, again, is you're doing outreach, you're commenting on their social media, you're sending them gifts, but you're not going in for the kill. You're building rapport. As Gary Vee says in his book, what is it? Jab, 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 right hook. Like your value, 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 but we probably do the value by 15, and we really don't even go in for a right hook. We might go in for a little punch just to try and kind of or dip the fishing line in the water, for example. The downside to that strategy is it does take a lot of time, patience, and it does take money. And you have to be consistent. So that strategy is still working. A lot of people don't like to deploy it because it takes time. But if you were to say, Michael, like what is actually working the best in the long term, it's that strategy. The second one is the podcast. And we've talked through that. You get people on the podcast, you add value, and then you continue with the Dream 100 framework and strategy. You're sending gifts, building rapport, all that great stuff. But I've got a new idea for you that we've been quietly testing, as I said. And that is you hosting a live event. You would say, well, what does this have to do with anything? So here's the play. And we're testing it in a couple of different ways. But think of this as the podcast strategy on steroids. So what we've been testing is putting together industry events. So events for others within the industry, but then taking that Dream 100 list of referral partners that we're aiming to get to and getting them to our events as a speaker, as a panelist, or as an attendee, but with free credentials. So let me talk this through a little bit with you and just so you kind of fully understand. So let's stick with the landscaping thing for now and say you've got a landscaping business and we'll keep it even more simple. Let's say you're local to a particular area, local business. The nice thing with that is it's going to be a lot easier to pull this off. So I wouldn't have you put together an event for customers. I would have you put together an event. Let's say that you're in, I don't know, we'll say Phoenix. And you would have an event that would be called something like, I don't know, the Phoenix. I should have had a good idea before I came on and started riffing this content. It would largely be for landscaping companies like yours, but it could be for home services. It could be, you could call it Phoenix Contractors Unite, for example, and you're inviting different types of the trades because you're all essentially selling to the same people. But what you want to do is you want to not disguise the event, but you want to have the event in such a way that you are going to attract, even as attendees, some of your potential referral partners that could make their way as a Dream 100 partner. In addition, you invite some of those people to speak and have some of the other businesses in the area that you would be trying to get to as a partner, as a panelist and a speaker. So let's unpack that because I know that, at least as I'm saying it, it sounds a little bit complicated. So you're a landscaper in Phoenix. You've built out your Dream 100 list and you've said that you want to continue to be in residential, but you want to be in some of the higher end residential. So some of the people that I could see on my Dream 100 list there would be homeowners associations. So who's in charge of the homeowners associations, who's on the board, who's making the decisions. So if you could walk into one homeowners association or one community that has a landscaping company, I know how much those contracts are worth. So you wouldn't get one lawn, you could get 250 lawns. So I would have those people on a list. I would look at what other products or services is my ideal customer purchasing. Electricians, are they purchasing pools, ponds in their backyards, concrete, stamped concrete, pavers, as long as you're not offering these particular services. Now, you could also invite a couple of other landscapers as well, but I'm trying to not have this event be all of your competition. I'm trying to have this event be people that you want to network with and build some relationships with. Now, at the top level, the event needs to be something of value. So you can't say that this is just a networking event. You might want to have the event be talking about how to grow in the home services industry in Phoenix. And you're going to bring on some different panelists. You're going to have a panelist about financials and kind of tax savings. So maybe that is the local CPA, for example. You're going to have a panel on all things HOA, possibly. So how to work with homeowners associations. You're going to have a panel on strategic referrals and partnerships, and maybe that's one that you do. But this event doesn't have to be a multi-day event. It can be a half day to a full day where you're renting out a unique space, and that's one of the keys. If you know anything about not even just Dream 100, but marketing in general, is I want you to be doing things that everyone else is not doing. One example that has nothing to do with what we've talked about on this episode, but I just did some content around this topic. If no one else is disclosing their price on their website, I want you to do the opposite. If everyone's doing the exact same thing, I want you to be doing the opposite so that you stand apart. So how do you make the event fun? Maybe you do it at a farm, and if you know that your audience is predominantly male, they're going to love a amazing steak. So maybe it's at a farm to table, there's great food, good speakers, you're going to learn, you're going to get fed, there's going to be some networking, there's some cold beer, and you now have this event where you literally have all of your people that you would potentially want to network with, build relationships with in the same room. And you're strategically picking the different people that are speaking as like your ultimate people that you want to have that relationship with. What ends up happening is when they speak, it is a very, very large ego play. They might not say it. I love speaking. It doesn't, I guess, I'm saying they wouldn't necessarily say it, then I'm saying the exact same thing of, well, I wouldn't say but it feels good to speak and give value and to be able to give back. Like I do get a high from speaking. So if you're giving that same thing, I can promise you that the homeowners association director or the admin person that runs the association behind the scenes has never been invited to speak at a conference ever. And you're going to take it to the next level. They're going to get a gift basket, for example, that has a lot of great things as a small thank you. You're going to have a thank you gift. There's going to be a speaker's lounge where they can feel like VIPs. So if you're thinking about the podcast strategy, this is that strategy times 10. It's in person, so the relationships are being built faster. You're producing amazing content that you can, like there's all of these other elements to this strategy. And you might be saying, well, Michael, this sounds like a lot of work. Well, what if you only had 25 people there? This doesn't need to be an event with thousands of people. If you have your Dream 100 list and you invite 100 people and we get 25, that's a slam dunk. You only need one relationship. And when you deploy this event the right way, you're facilitating, like speed networking, for example, you're facilitating these connections so they also get in the spirit of, yeah, I can refer some people, but because you're hosting the event, it's you're doing the intro session, the closing session, probably a breakout session, your name, your business, you're front and center running the event, you get the accolades, you get the authority. It puts you in that league that no one else is in. Think about that. And all that you did was facilitate something at a unique venue with some good food because you don't want to cheap out on things like that. I've been to hundreds and hundreds of events. Usually the biggest complaints are not about the speakers. It's about the temperature in the room, the food in the room, not enough time in between, like for breaks and casual networking, or the location of where it was. Like the venue wasn't great. So if you know that that's more of the battle, that if you bring some people together, you feed them, have a nice venue, and you don't want to do this when it's prime time. So if you know that like this is prime time for all the people in the industry, you're not going to want to try and put an event together in the next couple of weeks. You're going to want to look at when is there a little bit of downtime, things start to slow down so that you can have the highest of attendance. Marinate on this idea. There's a lot more logistics that I can give you and talk through, but I wanted to drop the idea. So let's summarize the idea. You, as the business owner, put together your list of Dream 100 relationships. In addition to doing all the other Dream 100 strategies, trying to get them on your podcast, commenting on their social media all day, every day, you decide to put together an event that those people can come to and either attend for free and or speak at. But you strategically pick the people that are going to be in the room that are invited. You make a big deal about the invitations. Maybe they get a nice black invite, like a wedding invite, for example. You have a fun venue. You have great food. Now, if it were me, because I know you're going to ask, I would make this event completely free of charge. Or, just to make sure that people don't say yes and then skip out, maybe there's a $250 donation that goes to charity. But you pay for the event. And let's say maybe it's $200 a head. I would pay $200 a head all day, every day to have the right people in the room with an event that I'm capturing good content. So I've got video sessions, training sessions that I can use all on social media for the next year. But to get in front of, have my Dream 100 people come to me and then allow me to put them on a stage, shower them with some gifts, and then have a lot of other amazing conversations, it is absolutely priceless. You want a strategy that no one else is doing? This is the strategy. Some people are doing events for clients. A lot of like financial advisors like to do that stuff. They'll invite clients and then get more referrals. That's great. I'm not saying don't do that. That clearly works. I wouldn't want a room of my landscaping clients unless we're all business owners. I want a room of people that can refer me landscaping jobs. I don't want to wine and dine them and get them to where they want to move the needle with me. Marinate on this idea, find a way to pull it off in the next 6 months, and you will have more relationships, more referrals than you ever could imagine. Michael Tasner signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'll see you next week.